with massive breaking news in the NFL. Shefty drops a bomb a little less than an hour ago. The Dallas Cowboys and Pittsburgh Steelers are finalizing a trade. It will send wide receiver George Pickens to Dallas in exchange for draft pick compensation. The trade's expected to include a third-round pick, other pick swaps, and is expected to be finalized Wednesday. Wednesday, by the way, is today. So let's dive into it. Orlovsky is up. Wilbon's in on it, but we start. Peter, we've been waiting and wondering what would happen with Pickens. We thought it might happen before the draft. It didn't. Now what?
The Cowboys were in the hunt to look for a wide receiver this entire offseason. They had not made that move yet. They finally do, and I will tell you that the Steelers have been looking at their wide receiver room for quite some time. They tried to get Brandon Ayuk last year in a deal from San Francisco. It didn't come to be. Instead, they traded a second-round pick for DK Metcalf and then gave him a $30 million a year contract. George Pickens entering the final year of his contract. And I would like to correct some people. Some people think that he is a diva or he's cantankerous. I talked to the Steelers folks. George Pickens is demonstrative on the field, but he is not an uncoachable player. In fact, he does have a great way about him in the locker room and is very well liked in Pittsburgh. For the Dallas side of this, they sat on an all draft. Everyone wondering, why are they not drafting a wide receiver? Why are they not drafting a running back? They took an offensive lineman. They get a player who I think is the best available prospect for a third-round pick, and then they can decide if they want to re-sign him or not.
Well, listen, that's a good point. The contract piece of this is something, but if they had gotten a player the caliber of George Pickens in the third round, we would have been losing our minds on this set last Friday. And Orlovsky, we were talking about this a lot leading up to and during the draft. They need to address wide receiver. They need to do something there. The Cowboys I'm talking about now. Instead, and Jerry sort of hinted, I've got something up my sleeve, and it turns out he did. What do you make of this trade from the Dallas side first, Dan?
Yeah, the move squarely puts the Cowboys as a playoff contending football team this coming season. I anticipate the Cowboys to be better than other people. And a couple months ago, Greeny, it was the Cowboys can be a playoff contender if two things happen. Number one, that Dak Prescott has to stay healthy. That hasn't been the case recently. And then two, they got to get a number two guy opposite CeeDee Lamb. George Pickens, in the chaos of the quarterback situation at Pittsburgh, averages like 15 yards a catch. So we're talking about adding that to a wide receiver opposite CeeDee Lamb that is going to get you about 100, 110 catches a season and push 1,500 plus yards. George Pickens, contract year, yes, he's not a perfect type of player, but his ability to go down the field and make plays with an offensive line that I think is going to be one of the better ones in the NFL to back into the season, this squarely puts the Cowboys back into we are a playoff contending football team.
And then the other side of this, there is another name that I think has to get mentioned when it comes to this story. You've got, obviously, the Cowboys and Jerry Jones and Dak, and you've got George Pickens himself, and you've got DK Metcalf. And then there is the ever-present and also ever-absent quarterback in Aaron Rodgers. Michael is booing before we even get the question out.
I know where it's coming.
What are we doing here?
Greeny and I have been talking about me being in New York on the way to Boston, by the way, for the night, for a few days. And I texted him, and I just said, I will come on as long as the name Aaron Rodgers cannot possibly come up.
He got you.
I get here 6:45 this morning, and Greeny says about this breaking news. So we will have to talk more about the most now. As great as he is, first ballot Hall of Fame, absolutely. There's no doubt about that. He has now become the most overrated and overstated quarterback in the league. Because last I checked, he'll be 42 years old sometime.
He will be this coming season, yes.
And is it like 4 or 5 years since Aaron Rodgers was any damn good?
Yes.
And yet, people talk about him. Why don't we just go get John Elway out of mothballs? I mean, when people talk about Aaron Rodgers as if we're going to get the 2010 version. No, we're not. And we don't move on from it. And so I know this trade is going to be Aaron Rodgers. If the Steelers, really, they're going to wait on this for Matt. So even if he's great for 1 year, what have you done? What have you done to your franchise, to your room, to your compensatory resources? What do you do? Nobody just looks at this and says, I'm sorry, this guy, he's not Tom Brady. Because we would have seen that over the past 3 or 4 years, and we haven't. So I know, here we go. the overstatement of Aaron Rodgers begins anew.
Well, what do we state about Aaron Rodgers today? I mean, there's still no
that the Kentucky Derby was thrilled. Everyone was gossiping. Does he have a wedding ring?
Ring on?
No football talk. So we still wait. As was the case in February, as was the case in March, he told teams, I am on my own timetable. If you need to move on, I understand. It must be nice.
Good for him.
Well, now
he's got a Hall of Fame career. And you know what? That Hall of Fame career is over. And we're the ones who don't want to get over it. He sounds like he's perfectly adjusting to what comes next. Go to the Derby. You used to see Aaron Rodgers a lot at NBA playoff games.
Yeah.
It was great to talk to him then. He's really relaxed. But the notion that you're going to get the 2010 Aaron Rodgers, I find it.
Or even the 2020 Aaron Rodgers. They would settle for the 2020, he won the MVP in 2020. That was really the last time we've seen him look like that player. Danny, go.
Yeah, just how I said before that this puts Cowboys firmly as a playoff contender. I think this move takes Pittsburgh firmly out of the playoff conversation. I mean, their offense is really DK Metcalf and Pat Freiermuth right now. Robert Woods, so they don't really have that secondary pass option. Is this the least scary, least appealing offensive unit in the NFL right now? No longer having George Pickens. So attaching to Aaron Rodgers, I don't know if this is a place, if you're an older quarterback, you're like, man, I can't wait to get there. You know, this was a situation where it wasn't an awesome one a month ago. And now it's obviously less awesome. And so if I'm Aaron Rodgers, Pittsburgh just doesn't look like a place that, as a 42-year-old quarterback, I really have an appeal to go and play for, just because below average offensive line, one really dynamic offensive piece. Freiermuth is nice. This makes me think that Rodgers is going to look at Pittsburgh less appealing than he did a month ago.
I would just add Najee Harris is no longer there either. He went to the LA Chargers, and this looks more like an Arthur Smith offense that we know, where it's two tight ends, let's run the ball, let's move chains. But they did trade a second-round pick for DK Metcalf and give him $30 million a year. So they're not throwing in the white flag just yet.
All right, I have to get to all the injury news out of the NBA, and we'll be on this all morning long. But a quick take on the Cowboys from you, Michael. Dan just said this puts them squarely in something. Their division is so tough. How good are they?
I live in Washington.
Playoffs.
I've been hearing this about the Dallas. I hear this every year about the Cowboys.
Yeah.
Every year. At some point, you know, there's more than simply putting these pieces together as if it's fantasy football. Yes, it seems like a reasonable move to make. Am I suddenly going to vault the Cowboys with their star quarterback coming off yet another injury above all these other teams that seem to be much further along in this offseason process than the Cowboys? No, I'm not. I can wait.
Okay. Let me leave that there for the moment. Much more football. We're putting this together on the fly. We're going to get Louis Riddick in.
News on SportsCenter that broke this morning. The Steelers, yes, they don't have a quarterback, and now they're going to be without their top wideout from last season. Our Adam Schefter reporting the Steelers will finalize a trade sending George Pickens to the Cowboys for future draft picks. The deal expected to be finalized later today. So, of course, on SportsCenter, we got to do a deeper dive on the ramifications that are. And for that, former NFL GM Mike Tannenbaum joined the program. Mike T, fantastic to see you. Let's start with the Cowboys from their perspective. What does the addition of Pickens now do for this Dallas offense?
Gary, it materially impacts them. If we go back to 2021, Dak Prescott's most consistent season, 37 touchdowns. He was consistent all season long. He had CeeDee Lamb and in his prime, Amari Cooper. Now you have CeeDee Lamb, a very productive tight end, and Jake Ferguson. And George Pickens. Very few teams can match up with that. This makes them more productive and should add a lot more points because in the red zone, George Pickens is a problem. He only had 3 touchdowns last year, but he's going into the last year of his deal. He'll be motivated.
He'll have over 100 targets last season for the Steelers, 900 yards. He was their most productive wide receiver statistically by a mile. Does Dallas now have enough offense to compete with the Eagles at the top of the NFC, Mike T?
Gary, they're greatly improved. I don't know if they're all the way with Philadelphia, but they're going to be able to score points. They added Javonte Williams. Look, their running game the last couple of years we know hasn't been great, but this really materially improves them because, again, of George Pickens' size here, as you can see, good route runner as well. He is going to be a problem in the red zone. This is really going to help Dak Prescott's production. So I don't know if they're at Philadelphia, but this is a massive step forward for them. The only thing is he's in the last year of his deal, so look for them to try to get an extension.
Definitely. All right, as for the Steelers, they don't really have a starting quarterback right now while they wait for Aaron Rodgers to do what he's going to do. Now they're trading